right, today's video is all about central tendency, and I know this is a big review for you, so I'm going to go very quickly. You will have to pause the video a couple of times to write down some key information, but we're going to go through the information pretty quick. So if you need to, rewind and hear it again as often as you need. Okay? You're going to need some kind of calculator. Basic calculator will do just fine. And of course your spiral notebook. And in your spiral notebook, go ahead and write that title, Central Tendency. And these are the types of central tendencies. And I know you've heard these vocabulary words many, many times before. Mean is, of course, the average, and I remember it by the A that's on the inside. Mean means average. Median, middle number, and they all start with an M, so how is that going to help you? Another thing to think about is when you're driving down the road, and many times there's two sides to a road, and there's a big cement piece in the middle. That's called the median. It's in the middle of the road. Here, median, middle. See if that will help you remember. Mode, M-O, for most often. Whatever number appears the most often. Range, we're looking at the different span of numbers. Across how many numbers are we talking that all this data comes from? And then the outlier. What's the odd number in the list? Sometimes there is one, sometimes there isn't. Pause the video if you need to, jot down the vocabulary words, and then come on back and we'll continue on doing some examples. All right, here are all the steps for each one of those topics. And again, you're going to want to pause the video so that you can get these down. But a lot of these steps you've already heard and seen before. It's just a review, and yes, I do want you to write them down because when you write them, it comes back to you. Oh, yes, I remember doing that. So here we have mean. We're adding up all the numbers, dividing by the number of numbers. And we've been doing that a lot in the percentage unit as well. Median, we've got the middle numbers. This is the key step right here. Make sure you line up the numbers in order before you do anything else. If you have an even number of numbers, so when you cross them off and you get to the middle, there are two numbers in the middle, what do? You find the average of those, and we'll do an example in just a moment. The range is the span of numbers, so that means you're going to be having to find the difference. We're subtracting there. Mode, the only maybe new thing for you for mode, sometimes the answer for mode is none. There is no mode. They're all exactly the same number of times. That is an option as well. And then also what's called bimodal. You've heard bi before. That prefix, of course, means two, right? Bicycle, two wheels. Bimodal means two modes. Sometimes there are a set of data and set of numbers that you have two numbers that are both repeated 4 times, or two numbers that are both repeated 6 times. So sometimes you could have no mode, you could have one mode, or you could be bimodal, having 2 modes. Just keep that in mind. Again, pause the video, make sure you have these steps written down, however you'd like to write them, and then come on back, we're going to do 2 examples. All right, this first example I'm going to go ahead and do with you. What is your favorite subject? So you can see I've put some tallies here. Maybe you've posed that question to a group of people passing in the hallway or a group of people in the auditorium, and you've taken tallies. And each person that said social studies, you put 1 tally mark, and each person that said language arts, you put 1 tally mark, and so on. Now, notice these little diagonal lines if you've never seen those before. Here you would do, this is 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, and the 5th person goes diagonal. That equals 5. Okay? Each group that has a cross through it is a group of 5. So, looking at the data, how many people liked social studies as their best subject? Maybe history and geography are really strong suits for them. Looking at these numbers, we have 12. All right? How about science? We have 9. How about language arts? Good, 12. And math, of course, is the best subject. How many people liked math? 15. All right. You know I made that happen on purpose. All right, we're going to find the mean, mode, median, and range, and then talk about any possible outliers. All right, remember, mean, you're going to add up the numbers and divide by the number of numbers. Certainly you can use a calculator. For the most part, this should be on the calculator active section. So we've got 12, 12, 9, and 15. We're adding those up. comes out to be 48, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of data, so we're going to divide by 4. So your mean is 12. Okay? Mode, you're going to look at the list of numbers here, the data set, and decide, do you have one that appears more often than others? We do in this case, 12. So there is a mode, and there's only one number that appears more than any other, so the mode will be 12. Okay? Median. Make sure you line up the numbers in order. So I'm going to put 9, 12, 12, 15. Okay? After you list the numbers in order, then you want to start crossing off one small and one large, one small and one large, working your way towards the center. Now some people do this in different ways. Some people put check marks on the top, some people circle them, some people cross them off. You do what works best for you. My personal strategy, I put one line crossing them off. You don't want to totally color it out because you might need it for future data references, but I just put one cross line through it so I can still read the number, but I know that I'm working my way in. So I've got a small and a large crossed off. You're always crossing off in pairs, working my way to the center. Now if I cross these two off, I won't have anything left. So these are the two that's in the middle. Whenever you come upon a set of data where you've got two numbers in the middle, and not just one, two numbers in the middle, then what you need to do is find the average of those. You would add them up and divide by the number of numbers. Now, in this case, is there really a reason to do that? What number is in the middle of 12 and 12? 12. So you didn't really even have to do anything here. If this was an 11 and a 13, what number would be in the middle of the 11 and 13? If you added them up and divided by 2, you would get 12. They're not always going to be that easy. They're not always going to be those whole numbers. Sometimes you're going to have decimals, and you are going to need to add them up and divide by 2. Here, the median is 12. All right? And range, we're going to take the largest and smallest values, which here are 15 and 9, subtract them, and the span of numbers, starting from 9 to 15, the data set falls in between 6 data points. The span of numbers is 6. Okay? Are there any outliers? Do you see any numbers that seem to be kind of strange in this list? Not here in this one. These are all pretty close together. Now if you had a number like 42 or 0, that would be an outlier in this set of data because all the other numbers are clustered around 11 or so, 11 or 12. Okay? All right, try one on your own. Pause the video, jot down the pieces of data, and then see if you can find the mean, median, mode, and range, and make note of any outliers that you might see. And then come on back and we'll go over it together. All right, how many pets do you have? Where would you fall on this list? How many pets are in your household? Do you have any fish, goats, elephants, cats? What do you have in your home? Do you live on a farm? Do you have no pets at all because your family's too busy? I personally don't have any pets at this time, so I would fall in this category. But maybe you have a couple of pets. Notice there's a 14 here, some 1s, 2s, 5s. Commas are separating the data numbers. All right, we're going to find the mean, so you're going to want to add these up and then divide by the number of numbers. So I'm going to real quickly type this in. The only thing you want to keep track of with this is making sure you don't have a mistake, and that's where a calculator with a screen comes in handy, because you can scan to make sure that you type them all in correctly. So we're going to add those up, and you get 37 when you add them up. Pretend that I've added them all up here. These are all the numbers. Okay. When I add them up, I get 37. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'm dividing by 14. Don't get confused by that. It's just an upside down box. It's exactly the same as this. Okay. I'm going to make sure I put 14 numbers into the calculator. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Whenever you're adding up a large list of numbers, it's very easy to forget one. So take a moment and double check to be sure that you've typed everything in your calculator correctly. All right, there are 14 numbers, so we are dividing that 37 by 14, and you get a decimal. Now, whenever you get a long decimal like this, you're going to have to decide how you're rounding. First, check the directions and see what they tell you there. But if not, a good guess would be to round to the hundredth place. And since I didn't tell you, maybe you rounded to 0.64. So the mean is 2.64, which means how many pets do you have? On average, most people maybe have a little bit more than 2. Can you have 0.64 of a pet? No. But this kind of data tells us people have somewhere between 2 and 3 pets. That's the average. All right, what about median? You want to make sure you put them in order. And again, some people like to cross them out as they use them or underline them if it helps. And let's see, we've got 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. A lot of 2s and 1s here. 3, 3. By underlining, you could also make sure that you've got them all. And one more safety check. Count them all up. Make sure we have 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, we're good to go there. All right. Once we line them up in order, we want to cross them off, one big, one small, working our way towards the middle. Again, you could do that any way you'd like. And hopefully, you found your way to the middle. Notice I'm doing them in pairs. We've got 2 numbers in the middle, a 2 and a 2. What number falls in between 2 and 2? 2. All right, so our median is 2. All right, mode, which number appears most often? A lot of times I will use this list so I can see which one appears most often because it's easily laid out and easily read. I notice I have just a couple of these numbers, but the 2s and the 1s seem to be numerous times. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 1s and 1, 2, 3, 4 2s. So this is an example of bimodal. This is a bimodal example. We've got, I'm going to change that, bimodal. 1 and 2 are both the modes. They're tied, so they both get the crown of being the mode. This is bimodal. All right, the range, we're going to take the largest and the smallest numbers and subtract them, so it falls across 14 numbers. And do we have any outliers? Are there any numbers here that are strange in this list? Kind of off to the side by themselves, a little bit more exaggerated than the others. And if you're looking at this list, do you see that 14 here? That seems much different than all these other numbers that are 5 or less. These are all really clustered around 2, and then you've got 14. Maybe this person lives on a farm. So the outlier, and there is one, there won't always be an outlier, but there is one for this one, would be 14. All right, this has just been a very quick review of central tendencies, and when you come to class, we'll be doing more examples of these and using some charts and informations and bar graphs and histograms to go ahead and answer some of these same types of questions. We'll see you soon.